She was a fox-eared girl from a distant world, yet she looked almost human. Her furred ears were pale gold at the tips, and her long tail moved slowly, like a quiet breath. Her name was Lena, and she had learned many human words, but the one she held closest was the simple word promise. She remembered the night when a human woman had pressed a warm hand to her shoulder. That woman was named Claire. Claire had said she would come back with a boat and food, and a safe place to hide. There had been fear in Claire. But there was honesty too. Lena had seen it in the way Claire did not look away from the strange shape of her ears and tail. She had wanted to believe, she had chosen to believe. The dawn came now with thin gold over the water. Lena felt the wind push her hair across her face. She tasted salt and a little iron, and she thought of old cuts and healed scars. She had survived the crash of a small ship that fell from the night sky. She had carried a beacon crystal across miles of stone and sand and broken fences she had hidden from men who carried hard lights and loud voices. Yet the hardest part was the quiet hour before sunrise. It was the hour when hope tried to speak and doubt tried to drown. Lena lifted a small charm. She wore on a wire. Claire had given it to her on that first night. It was a simple button from a blue jacket with a star on it. Claire had laughed softly and said, "This is not much, but keep it for luck." Lena had not understood luck then. Now she thought, luck might be a word for human courage that you keep in your pocket when the dark feels heavy. A gull cried over the waves. A city woke behind the dunes. A radio somewhere carried a song in a language. Lena almost understood. She had learned from Claire to listen for the meaning that lived under the words, to hear kindness even when the grammar was broken. She walked the shore and studied footprints that faded into foam. She thought of other trails she had followed in the weeks since the crash, the desert road where the air tasted of dust and gasoline, the river path where she had watched a woman named Zoe teach children how to read, the clinic near the pier where a nurse named Maddie had wrapped a bandage around her hand and pretended not to see the fur of her wrist. There had been a pattern in these small kindnesses, a chain of soft lights leading back to Claire. Claire worked nights on a fishing boat and days at a diner on the boardwalk. She had a mother who needed medicine and a small apartment above a bakery that smelled like sweet bread and burnt sugar. She had told Lena that not all humans were brave, but many tried their best. Lena had believed her because she had seen the tired love in Claire, and it looked stronger than fear. The promise had been simple. Claire would return at dawn on the third day with a plan. Lena would wait by the old pier. With the green planks together, they would cross the bay to a safe house run by a woman named Paige. From there, a friend would drive them north to a research place where a quiet professor named Nora might help repair the beacon crystal and call for help. It had sounded like a path that could be walked step by step. The third dawn had come and gone. The fourth had come and gone. On the fifth dawn, Lena found a small scarf caught on a nail near the pier. It was blue with tiny stars. She pressed it to her face and smelled coffee and salt and the faint apple soap Claire liked. She took it as a sign that Claire still tried to reach her, but days had a way of stacking like stones, and the weight of them could turn hope into ache. Lena sat on a broken dock post and closed her eyes. She breathed in and out the way Claire had taught her when panic clawed at her chest. In for 4, out for 6. She counted small things. She could trust the cold wood under her palms, the pull of the tide, the distant hum of a bus, the feel of the button on its wire warm from her skin. She told herself a story in simple words. A human showed me kindness. A human kept me safe when I was lost. A human will try again even if the world pushes back. She repeated it until the story became a rhythm, like the sea footsteps sounded on the boards behind her. She turned slowly, not with fear, but with the tired caution of a traveler who has learned too much. It was not Claire. It was an older woman with a wide sweater and gentle eyes. Her name was Grace. She asked if Lena needed breakfast. Lena nodded and rose and followed her to a small food cart painted green and white. Grace gave her a bowl of oatmeal with cut fruit and a cup of tea. She did not stare at the ears. She did not ask for secrets. She only said, "Eat while it is warm." Lena ate, and warmth moved through her small and real. She told Grace that she was waiting for a friend. Grace said there was a storm expected tonight and that she could sit by the cart until noon. If she liked, Lena thanked her and helped fold napkins. She liked the simple work. It kept her from staring at the water as the light grew stronger. A girl with a skateboard rolled up. Her name was Ivy. She asked if Lena had seen a silver necklace lost near the pier. Lena had not. Ivy groaned and said it was a gift from her sister. Lena thought of gifts and promises and said she would keep looking. Ivy grinned and said thanks, and then she paused. She asked if Lena would like to learn how to ride. Lena tried and fell twice. Ivy laughed kindly and showed her how to bend her knees for a few minutes. Lena forgot the clock and the tide and the sharp ache under her ribs for a few minutes. The day was only motion and wind. Around mid-morning, a patrol car rolled by and parked at the curb. A man and a woman in uniform stepped out and looked toward the water. Lena felt her body go still. Grace set a paper cup in Lena's hand and said, "Breathe." The two officers spoke with a fisherman and then walked on. They did not look at the cart. Lena exhaled and sipped tea. She told Grace a small truth. She said she was not from here and she was trying to go home. Grace said, "Most people are trying to go home in one way or another." She said sometimes home is a person and not a place. Noon came, the sun was bright and the wind was sharp. Lena rose and thanked Grace and returned to the pier. She placed the blue scarf on the railing so that Claire would see it from the boat lane. She waited through the long hours when shadows are short and the day feels cracked and empty. In the late afternoon, she heard a scrape. Under the dock, she knelt and saw a boy hiding by the pilings. His name was Aiden. He looked scared and hungry. Lena gave him the rest of her oatmeal and half of her tea. He told her he had run from a house where the words were always loud. He had nowhere to go. Lena thought of Claire, of the blue scarf, of the button, of the quiet stories that kept her steady. She helped the boy to his feet and led him to the green and white cart. Grace took one look and opened her arms and said, "We will find help." Ivy arrived again and said she knew a shelter run by a woman named Nina. Only 3 blocks away, they gathered like a small flock and walked together. On the way, a man pushed a trash can into the sidewalk and shouted at the sky. The boy flinched. Lena placed her tail around his shoulders like a long, soft blanket. He looked up and managed a thin smile at the shelter. Nina listened and nodded and made a phone call. She found the boy a bed and a counselor and a promise of gentle quiet for the night. She pressed a thank you note into Lena's hand along with a granola bar. Lena felt a small thread of purpose tug inside her. She returned to the pier as the sun slid toward the horizon. Clouds stacked like dark ships on the rim of the sea. The storm would be real by midnight. Lena sat again and watched the light change from gold to amber to gray. She thought about the rule she had learned on her world when the path breaks. You do not stop. You make a new path and you leave markers for the next traveler. She wondered if that rule was the heart of the human stories she had gathered since the crash. Maybe this was what humans called their win. Not a fight, not a loud victory, not a banner in the wind, but a quiet choice to help one another cross the broken parts. She pressed the button in her palm and closed her eyes. She spoke in a soft voice to the memory of Claire. She said she would keep moving. She said she would leave markers. She said she would turn her waiting into work. A small boat engine buzzed in the distance. Lena stood and shaded her eyes. The boat moved fast and cut a white line through the gray water. It reached the pier and slowed. A woman stood at the bow. Her hair was tied with a blue scarf. Lena's heart stumbled inside her chest. Then the woman raised a hand and Lena saw it was not Claire. It was Paige. Paige called out Lena's name and guided the boat against the tires on the dock. She said Claire had tried to come on the 3rd day, but men with hard lights had blocked the lane and taken her in for questions. She said Claire had refused to give any name or address and had asked Paige to take her place the next chance she had. She held up a bag with clothes and bread and a letter. Lena climbed in and sat on the bench and held the letter against her heart. She did not open it yet. She let the knowledge settle like warm rain. Claire had not abandoned her. Claire had faced trouble and had still kept the promise in the only way she could. As the boat pulled away, clouds opened and the first drops began to fall. Paige steered toward the far side of the bay where the safe house waited. Lena watched the pier grow small. Her heart had cracked at dawn. Now it did not feel whole, but it no longer felt empty either. It felt like a cup with a small leak that someone was slowly filling. She thought that maybe a heart could be both hurt and brave at the same time, and that maybe hope did not fade when morning came. Maybe it changed shape and asked for help and then kept walking. Lena tucked the blue scarf into her jacket. She slipped the button back.